You first and then you.
Sure. Matthew Lee, Inter-City Press, on behalf of the Free UN Coalition for Access. Thanks a lot for this briefing and event before the meeting. I noticed that in the draft declaration, there's a provision about the Security Council reform, saying that the Security Council should be made, I guess you could say fit for purpose, but it should be reformed to reflect global realities. I wanted to know, do you think the IPU, does it have other ideas of kind of UN reform in terms of selection of the new Secretary General, for example? And I also wanted to get your comment on the right of parliamentarians to attend these meetings. There's been a pretty high-profile U.S. limitation on a visa for the Russian Council President, and so now their delegation is not coming. And I wanted to know, did you think that by holding the meeting in the UN, it applies the same rules of people being able to attend UN meetings? And do you think that the host country of the UN, the United States, should allow in parliamentarians, whatever the particular foreign policy view of the United States? Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. The declaration takes note of the efforts to reform the UN Security Council, and also strengthens its conviction, that the conviction of the world parliamentary community, that yes, there should be those reforms. Those reforms should be carried to their logical conclusion, because the world today is very different from the world of 1945 when the UN was created, and a lot has been said about democracy and the importance of governance within institutions in order to make sure that the way international organizations, including the UN as the foremost multilateral institution of cooperation, they should be more democratic in the way they operate. So that's one thing. When it comes to the ability for members of parliament to attend the IPU conference, of course, we want the ideal situation would be for every parliament to be able to attend the IPU conference here without any restrictions. And we were aware of possible difficulties in the past when we started to organize these meetings, and we had been in consultation with various authorities, including in the US, and we have been told that the UN visa processing process was very long, and we were encouraged to ask possible participants to apply well in advance for those visas. And I would think that we have not had any particular difficulties being brought to our attention, apart from the one that you're referring to, the Russian speaker. It is only this morning that we have learned officially that she is not coming. Up until yesterday, we were expecting that she would come. As we're coming to this press conference, we saw a message from her that she would not be attending. Of course, we regret this fact because we think that this is a forum where all members of parliament, true to the principle of democracy, could exercise their freedom of expression and bring to the fore what the issues are. We are yet to have the details of the decision taken for her not to participate. What are the conditions that were supposedly imposed by the American administration on her participation in this meeting? And so, if I may answer your question, I would not like to comment on an interpretation of a decision that I have not seen, the President hasn't seen. You have not seen that decision by the Americans.
Okay, I mean, would you ever think of doing the meeting in another country if, in fact, parliamentarians can't attend in this country?
Well, yeah, we have a principle in the IPU when it comes to our statutory meetings that we cannot hold meetings in countries that do not guarantee access to all invited participants. But this one is a special meeting that we're holding. It's not a statutory meeting of the Inter-Parliamentary Union. It's an exceptional meeting, and it is taking place here in New York primarily because it is here that history is going to be made a few weeks down the road with the new SDGs being adopted by the Summit of Heads of State and Government. We are saying that Parliament should be there when this major decision is being taken, and that is why we're having this meeting here in New York. But normally, we would want to ensure, and we've had to cancel meetings, statutory meetings of the IPU, where we did not receive guarantees for all participants, all invited participants to attend. I want to point out to you that we have received confirmation from the Speaker of the Russian Upper House of Parliament that she will be attending the next IPU assembly in Geneva in October at our invitation. And I do not anticipate any problems regarding her participation. In fact, we look forward to participation.
Let me just quickly, you asked the question as to the choice of the venue in the New York. And if I can just invite your attention to the GA resolution 68/272 that was taken on 19th of May. And I'll just read out very briefly. And this is from the GA resolution. It says, welcomes the preparations currently underway for the organization of the Fourth World Conference of Speakers in 2015 and encourages the conduct of these preparations in close cooperation with the United Nations with a view to holding the conference at UN headquarters in New York as part of the series of high-level meetings. So this also sort of influenced our choice of New York because we were encouraged by a decision that was taken by the General Assembly. And we, of course, read that in good faith and accept that in good faith and make our arrangements accordingly.